All right, got more viewers coming on. That's great news. So quick hello to everyone. Thank you for joining us. And as you guys can see, we are set up in the studio this time around. I've actually got multiple camera angles, which is really cool. So I'll share that here in a little bit. But quick shout out to Mr. Tom Cogswell. Thank you very much for setting this up for us this week. We've been talking about getting the video studio set back up so we can come in here, do these live sessions with you guys, have much better lighting, sound, much better visuals. Again, we've got the extra camera angle here, or just for fun, I can make it black. A lot of good stuff. So thank you again for everyone joining us. Michael Miller is already enjoying the slow stick. That's awesome to see. You know, that airplane is, it's really been very exciting to see how well it's been adopted by the market. The first 2 shipments have already sold out. We do have more coming. They're already on the way, and they will be here probably in June. So that's exciting. It is a very, very good selling airplane. I know it's not our most attractive airplane, but that Soul Ultra Stick is just one of our just easiest, simplest, best flying, an airplane that everybody can enjoy, an airplane that anybody can fly pretty much as long as they've flown at least a trainer before it. Great next step airplane. But even for experienced guys, it's a lot of fun to fly it as well. So, all right, now that we've got some more live viewers, let's talk about what we're here to announce this week. And I'm very excited. I know a lot of people are looking behind me, they're like, oh my gosh, they have all these timbers. There's so many timbers. It's yet another timber. But in technical terms, this is not another timber. This is the new UMX Turbo Timber Evolution, which of course looks just like the larger 1.5 meter model, which is very, very popular. This model replaces the UMX Turbo Timber that we've been selling for many, many years, which that model of course replaced the original UMX Timber many, many years ago. So actually the UMX Turbo Timber came out almost exactly 3 years ago, so it's been around for a while. I think before that, the original Timber was around for a little over 2 years, was very, very popular. And as you guys can see here, maybe a little bit visually, and then for those that are in the know that have looked at the features and benefits of these different products, this is the 3rd iteration. It's a nice evolution from where the original started. So the original had the shorter nose, of course. With the UMX Turbo Timber, we went to the longer turbo style nose. And then we also updated some of the components inside. We made it 2S, it was already 2S compatible, but we put a hotter motor in it. And so that airplane was a bit peppier than the original. It again had the very nice turbo nose and turbo look to it, so it looked a lot more like the very popular Turbo Timber 1.5 meter. This one in my hand was actually the test mule for the Evolution model here. And what's interesting about that is we just took one of our motors from our other UMX aircraft that are now 2S and 3S compatible. We stuck it in there, we put a 3S battery, and we went for it, only to find that this airframe was not able to handle the extra power of the 3-cell power system. So with that 3-cell power system installed, the wing was too flexy, the stab was too flexy, the control horns were not strong enough, the linkages were not strong enough to handle all that extra speed and power that you get with the 3-cell battery. So we had to actually make an all new airframe. So this is the exact same footprint. You'll see they all line up. Everything lines up. It's the same size and shape. We didn't make the aircraft any larger, but when we made the new tooling, we went ahead and we beefed everything up. So one of the biggest changes with the Turbo Timber Evolution is that it's got a more reinforced, stronger overall airframe. We've got a stiffer wing. We've got an airfoiled stab here. So it has a lot more strength to it, a lot more rigidity to it. And we also upgraded the control horns and the linkages to the ball link setup that we originally put on the UMX Timber X. And so these linkages are much stronger. They handle the loads a lot better. We've got better servos inside. A real quick note on that. So I know these linear servos, there are some guys out there that don't like them. Totally understand that. You know, these linear servos, we've been improving these steadily over the years. So they now last longer, they perform better. They're very durable. What's nice about these linear servos is you can't really strip them. A small, like rotary servo this size is very easy to strip. So these are actually more durable. Again, we've improved the performance, we've improved the reliability, the quality control of these servos. They've gotten stronger and faster and more throw and better in all the ways that matter the most. Something else that we did, it's hard to see here, but we actually do have now an additional mounting point for the landing gear, so these fairings don't dig into the foam. So now we got 2, so the landing gear is a little bit stronger, which handles rough surfaces a little bit better than even the Turbo Timber did. So that's a nice improvement. Of course, visually you'll see the trim scheme. I love it. I think it looks fantastic. I'm not sure you're gonna see it on the pictures there, but the color of this blue is beautiful. it does look like a much higher end model because we went to a combination of paint, but also these really nice water slide decals, which are very hard for the factory to apply. They don't love having to put them on, but boy, it looks fantastic. The nice thing also about these water slide decals is they're lighter than a typical decal. So typical decals, they are thicker material, they can bubble up. These are nice because they go right on smooth against the surface. They are lighter weight. Again, it looks almost entirely like paint, to be honest. And I'm not sure if you guys can see that in the light there, but it's just got a really beautiful finish to it. So we've got the stronger reinforced airframe. We've got the stronger, more precise linkages. We even have the more secured landing gear. We've got the very, very nice overall look. But of course, what most people care about is the extra power, the extra performance. So what we did here, and I'll switch up my camera view to show you. So we've got the now 2S and 3S compatible, the larger motor that we've been using in our last couple of ultra micro models. So we have the UMX Timber X now that's 3S compatible in particular, the UMX Voodoo. We also have the UMX Pits now. All of those models can run on the 3-cell batteries. The nice thing about these larger UMX motors now is that they're quieter. So we've gotten rid of that really high-pitched kind of whine that our ultra micro models used to make, which made them actually almost noisier than larger aircraft. And so now they're quieter and they have more performance. And so that's really exciting. And we do have additional reinforcement, I think, throughout the airframe, not only in the wing and the stab, but also in the fuselage as well. And you see there's the battery compartment. Pretty open, nice and easy to get to. Of course, you've got this nice top-mounted hatch, which mounts just like the original. So you got some magnetic attachments there in the front. It's very easy to take the hatch off and on. There it is, pop it off. So that is really awesome. Now we have both, again, a 2S and 3S compatible motor. So for those that already have 2S batteries, a lot of people will have now these new Spectrum 2S 300 or newer. We've had these out for a little while now, but this has that 3-pin JST PH connector on it. And a lot of people also have the old blue E-flite 280 milliamp 2-cell batteries that have the same connector. So this connector does not plug into the airplane. The airplane comes with a JST connector. And I know a lot of guys are like getting frustrated with all these connector choices and everything. And we totally understand that. We're more standardizing now on the JST for stuff that's under 10 amps, the IC2 for the 10 to kind of 25 amp stuff, and then the IC3 for pretty much everything else except for the very high current stuff, which gets an IC5. This JST is very common in this category of model and category of connector, or sorry, kind of category of current draw, so to speak. So we also then have the 3-cell 300 milliamp that's been out for a while from Spectrum in particular, which comes with the JST, comes with a standard balance connector. By the way, none of these are smart batteries. They're too small to have the smart chip. These are all just normal standard LiPos. They are Spectrum LiPos, they're just not Spectrum Smart LiPos. This 3-cell 300, a lot of guys have bought these over the last couple months, last year in particular, because of our other models all being now, or many of them being 3S compatible. Something we recently introduced though, which a lot of people may not know about, is this is a new 2-cell 300 milliamp battery that comes with a JST. So instead of coming with the 3-pin connector, it comes natively with the JST connector, so you can put it in this airplane and fly it without using an adapter. This also has your typical 3-pin balance connector. It's actually a 50C battery instead of a 30C battery, so it's got a little more pep on 2S, which is nice. So yeah, this 50C battery has a little more pep than the 30C 300 2-cell. Not a big difference, not noticeable by most people, but it is a little bit different. This battery, the 2-cell 300 with the 3-pin connector, the 30C version is $9.99. This one with the JST connector and the 50C is $11.99, so it's a couple bucks more. And some people may want that. We'll talk about the flight performance with 2S and 3S here in a minute. But real quick, if you do happen to have some of the older batteries with the 3-pin, either the E-flite batteries or even some of these 2S 300s, we of course do sell this adapter, which allows you to use those batteries in an airplane with the JST connector. So of course it's got the 3-pin JST PH connector. You attach that there. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, adapters are so bad, they rob power, they add weight. They do those things, but honestly, it's not enough that you can even notice, even at this scale. And with that installed, now you can plug it directly into the JST that's in the airplane. So that is very nice. I will put in the, at the end here, I'll put in the comments and also maybe in the description for this video, the item numbers for the adapter, for these batteries that we just talked about. Of course, you'll have to charge these batteries, and many people already have charging solutions, but just in case they don't, important to remember that we do have this IC3 to JST charge lead for the batteries that have the for the JST, well, this is actually the JST RCY connector on there. So we do have that charge lead available. A lot of people already have these. So if you have a smart charger, you can use this. Of course, it is not a smart adapter because these small batteries are not smart and they do not have the third wire. And it doesn't need it. We just use this IC3 in place of EC3s on everything now, even if it's smart or not. You can plug this into any smart charger that has the IC3 output, of course, but you can also then use this if you have a regular charger and let's say you have an EC3 connector, you can just plug this in and then charge your JST equipped batteries that way. If you have the batteries that have the 3-pin connector, for many years now we've been selling this interesting looking adapter lead, which plugs into the battery. It has a separate connector for balancing, and then this plugs into the IC3 connector on your smart charger or on your non-smart charger. Again, these are not smart batteries, so it doesn't have the extra wires for that. Just has extra wires for the balancing portion of the charge lead. So that lead is available separately as well, and I'll put the description and item number for that in the chat at the end here as well. But we have all of those options available, and of course, since they're such small batteries, you don't need a whole lot of charger to charge them. Anywhere from our S120 up to, well, sorry, S120 will not charge these, but the S150, the 155, and of course all of our larger and higher performance smart chargers will charge those batteries just fine. And you know, most of the time I charge these batteries myself at 2 or 3C. 2C, it gets them done in about 30 minutes or less. 3C, 20 minutes or less. And so that's not hard on the battery at all. They are rated up for 3C as well. And some guys charge them faster. We don't officially recommend that, but you possibly can. But that kind of covers all of the battery options that are available for this model. I will say, I've flown it quite a bit now on both 2S and 3S. And I know 3S is a lot of fun, don't get me wrong. Especially if you're an experienced pilot. When we publish the video for this, which we will put a link in the chat so you guys can see that, please don't share it before the official announcement tomorrow morning. But when you watch the video, you'll notice that on 3 cells, it has tons of power, as you would expect. So it basically has unlimited vertical with 3 cells. You can hover it on the prop, no problem with 3 cells. It's got good speed. It has all of the control authority and power that you need to do some pretty aggressive aerobatics. So what I like about this Timber compared to the previous iterations, this is the most fun to fly. It's the most all-around versatile. It can still fly slow. It can still do a lot of the STOL type stuff the original could do, especially if you install the optional use leading edge slats. But at the same time, with 3 cells, you can pour on the coals and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Knife edge, really wicked snaps and spins and blenders. Now our video, we only shot with an airplane that had the slats on it, but you'll see even in the video with the slats installed, it's still very aerobatic. Now with these slats removed, it's actually even more aerobatic. So it snaps a little more, it rolls a little faster, has a little bit better inverted flight performance. A lot of guys tend to install the leading edge slats because they prefer upright, better slow speed performance. You know, a lot of them aren't doing crazy aerobatic, especially inverted flying. So with the slats installed, you get a little bit more lift and drag. So it has a little bit better STOL performance. You can fly it a little bit slower upright. They look really cool when you add those on there. And then a quick note on those leading edge slats, they're not on this particular model here, but you do have to install them with some glue. And this is still an EPO foam airframe. I'm sorry, an EPS foam airframe. So you have to use foam safe CA if you're gluing those leading edge slats on, or if you're ever gonna repair this. Now, a lot of guys will say, why didn't you make it EPO? Well, we are trying our best when it comes to ultra micro models to come up with the best combination of strength, durability, and weight. So EPO airplanes, or in this class, EPO weighs more. The airframe is not as stiff. So EPS is stiffer, it's lighter, actually kind of has a better, smoother finish. So we went with EPS on this model. It's still very tough, trust me, it's not very heavy. So even if you crash it real hard, it doesn't break terribly bad. You can glue it back together as long as you use foam safe CA or epoxy or foam tack or anything like that. You can still repair it with that. Of course, we do sell replacement parts, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, but you can put it back together. It's not EPO because we wanted to keep the weight down as much as possible. It's a little heavier than the previous iteration because, of course, it has the stiffer, more reinforced airframe. It does have the larger control horns. It does have the bigger motor. Most people can't notice that extra weight at all. Even our most experienced pilots, they admit, out in the wind, especially with a 3-cell battery, they prefer a little bit more weight that this has. It penetrates the wind better. You can fly it more aggressively. But one of the benefits of being able to use a 2-cell battery, and the reason I bought some 2-cell batteries for myself, is I really like flying this in calm conditions with a 2-cell battery cruising around in the front yard or the backyard. And then indoors, if someone's flying in an indoor area, whether they've got a basketball gym to fly in, that's a little tight for some models like this, depending on the person's skill level. But let's say you're in a golf dome or something, a 2-cell battery is great. It is noticeably lighter. You can feel the lighter weight with one less cell. It also, you can get the CG a little farther back, which kind of helps to keep the nose up a bit. So it's very nice combination with the 2-cell batteries. So I know, don't dismiss the 2-cell batteries at all. They do work. In fact, I was surprised to find that with the 2-cell battery, I could still loop from level flight multiple times. I could do all the aerobatics that I wanted to do, again, even on the 2-cell battery, whether I had my older 2-cell batteries and I used my adapter, or now that I've got some more of these 2-cell with the JST and the 50C, these have a nice little extra pep to them. It flies great, a little lighter with these. So a lot of guys that already have 2-cell batteries, they can just use those. I know almost everybody's gonna say, I want more power, so they're gonna wanna use the 3-cell. I totally get that, we totally get that. That's why we went with this, updated and upgraded airframe to get you all those features and to get that extra performance with the 3-cell battery. But it's nice the way that this can do everything from slow and easy flying to fast and aggressive flying. It's the most evolved, the most capable, the most versatile of all the UMX Timbers to date. This is by far my favorite one. I think it's almost everybody's favorite one. And then all the other features the original ones had, it still has those. So we've got the lights all the way around, of course. We do indeed have the functional flaps. Those are very popular for this model in particular. We do have the oversized tires, which of all of our ultra micros, this is basically the best one on kind of a typical grass surface. So I can fly this out of my front yard or backyard grass, no problem. You'll see in the video, we're flying at a park that doesn't even have that well groomed of grass. It gets off the ground, no problem, lands on it, no problem. Again, we beefed up and put an extra screw in the mounting here to help make the landing gear even more durable on those surfaces. So it's just an all-around better, more evolved airplane. And I know guys are gonna say, again, another timber, another timber, another timber. Timbers sell great. These original UMX Timbers are some of our best-selling airplanes of all time. We have not ever really had airplanes that sold as well as these. In fact, this turbo timber has just been unbelievable the last couple of years. A lot of people have bought them. A lot of guys have bought 2 or 3 or 4 of them even. It's just a fun all-around airplane. So whether you're a low-time skilled pilot, whether you're just graduating from a trainer, or a very experienced guy, this airplane is going to work great and be enjoyable for all of them. So quick note on the fact that maybe a low-time pilot would want this. So this is a DXS transmitter, which comes with a lot of our ready-to-fly basic aircraft now, or all of them pretty much. And the nice thing about this transmitter is it's not just a throwaway transmitter. I know a lot of guys treat it that way and they think of it that way, but like we talked about for the slow stick, this is a 7-channel transmitter. It can work for a model like this. This is a 6-channel aircraft. You of course have your basic 4-channel controls, your throttle, your elevator, your rudder, your aileron. You have flaps. You also have safe select, which would be on it's actually on channel 5 on an ultra micro model like this. So this transmitter will work for this airplane. So if somebody has an Aero Scout or a Carbon Cub or an Apprentice STS, a Habu STS, and they want to buy this as their second airplane, great, they can use this transmitter. Of course, it doesn't have model memory, so they're gonna have to adjust their trims depending on if they switch between models. The other thing is this radio out of the box is not configured to work with an airplane that has flaps. However, as we also talked about with the slow stick, it didn't matter with the slow stick, but you can actually change the profiles that are loaded into this transmitter. There's different versions. There's ones that support our trainers or more basic aircraft. There's a version that supports airplanes with flaps and with retracts. So that is built into the software of the radios that we've been shipping for a while now. You may have an older DXS, you'd have to update that one to get to the other profiles, but when you load that profile in, it will put the flaps on this D switch, which is the most common location for flaps. Right now, channel 6 is actually on the panic button. So what happened is if you didn't change the model profile, your flaps would be on this button, so they would be stuck down, and when you hit it, they go up. So you can't fly it that way. So you have to load in the other profile, which again, it comes in the base software in the radios that we've been shipping for a while. There are instructions. We can link to the video in the description or in the chat down below that shows you where to go to get the information on how you change. You basically move the sticks and you turn it on and you do different things, and boom, it loads that other profile in. You then have the flaps on that switch. One caveat, and of course this is not a computer radio, so it doesn't work for everything. It doesn't work the best for airplanes that have flaps. And this is a good example because when you have the flaps down on a high wing airplane like this, it will pitch up. So if you use the flaps on this airplane with a DXS radio, you do not have the mixing to the elevator. So a lot of high wing airplanes, when you put the flaps down, they tend to climb. So within our computer radio, when we put our flaps down, we have a program mix that adds in down elevator. So when we put the flaps down, it doesn't jump. So it keeps, you know, the nose relatively level. Might climb a little bit. Everybody's a little different how they like to set that. But this airplane has that limitation if you use the DXS transmitter. So what I would recommend is if this is a next step airplane for someone, they change the profile so it has the flaps on that switch, so it will fly, and then just don't use the flash. If you're wanting to use the flaps, you're gonna have to compensate with elevator. If you have safe on, it kind of helps compensate, but if you turn safe off, it's just gonna climb. In fact, it'll just basically do loops with the flaps down, so you don't want to do that. That's a good excuse to then upgrade your transmitter, but you could fly this as your second airplane with this transmitter you already got with your first airplane if you wanted to. Of course, you will need a different battery and charger, but these are very inexpensive batteries and charge leads, and you might already have a charger that works. But this can be a great, what we call skill level 2, next step after a trainer airplane. So it has a very wide audience of petite people that'll be interested in buying it. Plus, my most, you know, enjoyable part of this airplane is the fact that it gets all the functions. You've got the flaps, you've got the lights, you've got the high performance power system with 3S now in particular. It flies just like a bigger airplane, but I can fly it in my yard. I can fly it at a schoolyard, no problem. A soccer field, no problem. I can fly it indoors if I have enough space. Again, one basketball court's a little tight if for a lower skill pilot. Like 2 basketball courts or a golf dome is great indoors for this, no problem. Obviously, you can fly this at your flying field, even in a little bit of wind. It's a very, very capable, very versatile airplane. The other option, of course, you have is to add the floats. These little floats, which we've been selling for a long time, the UMX floats are very, very popular, very common. We sell tons of these. They go right on the bottom. The hardware to mount the floats, it comes with the, most of the hardware comes with the floats themselves. There is a different bracket, I believe, that you have to use that comes with the airplane. Between the airplane and the floats, you have everything you need to bolt them on. And what's nice is they go on and off pretty easy. So you can switch between them, and you can even put these in the box that it comes in when you're storing and transporting the airplane. So that way you can switch between the floats and the wheels pretty darn easy. So that makes it even more versatile. Hard to beat that. And I think that's a big part of why Timbers have been just such good selling airplanes for so long, because they are versatile. They're easy to fly. Could they be a trainer? Yeah, we don't recommend them as a trainer. I know some people have learned to fly successfully on Timbers. They're just a little more complex. They have a little bit more difficulty to them than a typical, what we say is a trainer or first-time airplane. But you could use it as a trainer. That said, again, we don't recommend it that way, but anywhere from a second airplane up to the, even if you have hundreds of airplanes like myself and some of the other guys do, we still love flying this thing. It is an absolute blast. It's the best it's ever been. Not another Timber. It replaces the existing Timbers. We will still continue to sell, of course, the UMX Timber X. So I brought that here to show today as an alternative as well. Different animal. They are not the same airplane. You can't really fly this one and say, oh, it does everything this one does. They do things a little different. You can see the wingspans are a bit different. The length is a little bit different. This one has the shorter nose, of course. The Timber X is still a more 3D capable Timber. It isn't quite as good at some of the Stoll stuff that the bigger brother now, I wouldn't say necessarily bigger brother, but the Turbo Timber Evolution is. It has the longer wingspan, which helps in the stability and whatnot. So it doesn't have quite the Stoll and slow flight capabilities that this has, but it has more extreme 3D aerobatic capabilities. So that's why this is going to remain in the lineup. A lot of people will own both because they do fly different. I personally own both, of course. They have different missions. They have different capabilities. Some people love this airplane. Some people don't love this airplane. Some people will absolutely love this airplane, and they may not love this airplane, although I find it hard-pressed to believe anybody would not love this airplane. It really is a blast to fly. But again, both of these are going to stay in the lineup. So yeah, we have these two Timbers. I know a lot of guys say, oh, you have so many Timbers. We really don't have that many Timbers. We have the UMX Timber X. We have the UMX Turbo Timber Evolution. That's it for UMXs. And then when you go up to the more park flyer or mid-size category, we've got the we have the Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter, and we have the Timber X 1.2 meter. We do have a night version of the Timber X as well. Both of them sell well. Originally, when we came out with the night version, we thought everybody would buy that instead of the standard one, but we sell about 50-50, so we still sell both of those. And that's it. That's all the Timbers we have, guys. It's not like we have 12 different Timbers. We've had many different iterations of Timbers over the years, but that's not uncommon. Let's think about, for example, full-scale aircraft manufacturers like Cirrus. Or let's talk about Cessna. Let's talk about car manufacturers, Ford with the Mustang, other nameplates and other series of vehicles and aircraft that are out there. A lot of times when you come up with a good design, you just keep selling it, but you can't just leave it the way it is. It gets outdated. It gets behind the times, behind the curve in performance, and maybe even in looks. So, Cirrus, every couple of years, they update their models, they add features, they change the paint jobs. Car manufacturers do this pretty much every 3 years. They make a refresh of the car. They change the bumpers. They maybe put different headlights. They change the paint job, add a couple features inside. Every 6 to 8 years, they change the whole design. So it goes either it's an all new car every say 6 to 8 years, or it's a new every year after that. They just update a couple things. So you'll notice that in our marketing. We aren't going to say this is an all new airplane. It technically is. But to most people, it's just an evolution. It's a new version, an updated and upgraded version of the Turbo Timber, totally understandable. If it was a mid-size, like between this and the bigger one, we would call that all new. Or if we went and did a giant scale timber, we would call that all new because it is indeed an all new design. But that said, that's the reason we keep updating these timbers. People love them. They're our best-selling airplanes. People love the features, but every once in a while the market shifts. The last couple of years, market has told us we want more power. More power, more power. So that's exactly what we're giving them. And that's made ultra micros sell better than they've ever sold. About, say 5 years ago, ultra micro model sales really dropped off. The market got very interested in high scale warbirds, which were already very popular even at that time, but then they also shifted to being very interested in jets. EDF jets in particular got really, really hot. They're still popular, but I wouldn't say that EDF jets are nearly as popular as they were even 5 years ago. Everybody was buying them, even guys that didn't have the skills to fly them. What's happened is now that the dust has settled, the market has said, hey, these ultra micros are great because obviously they're under the 250 gram weight limit that the FAA has. That's a nice benefit of them. I can also fly them in more places, in smaller spaces. They're easier for me to store and transport. I can put them right back in the box. They're protected nice and easy. They're under $200, so I can afford to own multiple of them. The batteries are super cheap. So we've seen a huge resurgence in the interest of ultra micro models lately. So that's why we're now going back and we're updating a lot of these, and we're gonna even have some all new ones. Like you might've seen more recently, we came out with the UMX Twin Otter, which is an all new design, has sold very, very well for us. And so we will go back and update a lot of our UMX models to have more power, to have more performance, all the things that people have kind of been looking for over the years. And then on top of that, we're going to push the envelope. We're pushing the performance envelope. We're trying different things with UMXs that we hadn't done before. And we'll do that too in our larger scale stuff. But that said, real quick, just to point out, every year we come out with about 24 new airplanes. We come out with everything from ultra micro, and if you guys remember when you're seeing this video, just a week ago, we announced a giant scale turbine jet ARF. So we go all the way from the little tiny foam stuff for low time, inexperienced beginner pilots, all the way up to a high-end wood jet. We're one of the few companies in the industry that has products that span from both ends of the spectrum. Pun intended, not really. But the nice thing is that every couple weeks will be releasing a new model. So if this isn't the model that somebody loves and wants, no problem. Don't bash it. Wait till the next week until we come out with something different or new, or a couple more weeks. In this case, it'll be a couple weeks before we announce our next new one. But we do a little bit of everything. UMX, all the way up to giant scale. We've got trainers, we've got timbers, we've got warbirds, we've got more jets coming, some all new jets, of course, coming, all new warbirds coming, all kinds of things coming. It's important to remember that not every airplane is for every customer, but at the same time, a plane like this is really popular because it does resonate with a lot of customers. So very important to stock this in your store. If you're a dealer that's not already stocking the original timber, you really should definitely stock this if you're stocking airplanes. If you were stocking the original turbo timber, of course, it's a no-brainer. This is no longer available. It's been we stopped selling these about a month ago. We ran out of them, give or take. Now this model replaces it. It is $10 more. And I really wish that it didn't have to be. The good news is that shipping costs have come down, so it didn't have to be $20 or $30 more. But because we had to pay for all new tooling, it does have the extra support structure inside, the bigger motor. It does have the the water slide decals. It costs a little bit more to apply. All those things add into that $10, which is why it's that way. But I'll tell you what, for $10 more, this thing is so much more fun to fly. You get way more than $10 of additional enjoyment out of this compared to the old one. And you can see I have these are all my personal airplanes, in part because I love having all the originals. I love, each iteration has something different to it. So, I would buy all of these airplanes myself over time. Guys that already own a timber, they're gonna buy another timber. But also keep in mind, there are a lot of people who've never even seen a timber or heard of a timber or never thought they would want a UMX timber before. Now they're gonna want this one because it has the extra capabilities that it does. So it's pretty exciting that we are able to continue updating, very popular, very important namesakes, nameplates, and series of models for our lineup. It's good for stores, of course, great for customers. And I know we get bashed a lot about coming out with too many Timbers and Cubs and T-28s and P-51s. Those all sell well, almost no matter what size they're in. Every time we come out with one, it sells really, really well. But don't forget, we try things that are different. We came out with the Beechcraft D18 last year. It's done very well for us. We try to do things like the little F14. It's pushing the envelope, but also making it affordable and a little more accessible for more people than a larger model would be. We're always trying to have the right balance of a little bit of everything for everyone, while also making the hobby more enjoyable for everyone. So that's important to kind of point out. Let's see if we've got any questions here in the chat. Yeah, Mike Mann, bookends, both ends of the spectrum, pun intended. Yeah, we said it at the same time, it's even better. Are there any other questions and concerns or comments from the live viewers right now? A couple more people like the slow stick. I love the slow ultra stick. It's a blast, you know. And so people have already said, are you going to make an ultra micro slow ultra stick? Or are you going to make a giant scale slow ultra stick? Who knows? We'll see. You know, the stick has done very, very well. It's surprised. We knew it would do good, but it's done great, even better than we expected, because I think it's a kind of model that a lot of people see it. They go, it's not much to look at, but it's going to be simple. It's going to be fun to fly. I'm going to enjoy it. So that's been really exciting. Ryan Ramsey is already loving his UMX Turbo Timber. He should have a video for us all to see tomorrow on announcement day. Real quick, I'll circle back on this. I did not get a chance to talk about the spare parts for this because this is essentially an all-new airframe with all these different components. Most of the parts for the Evolution are different than they are for the Turbo Timber. Now, they're the same shape basically, but the stab is a little different because it's got the airfoil stab to it. That's important to remember. That these parts, some of them are interchangeable, but most of them are not. So there are new parts for this. Now, the important parts, like the propeller, is one that we've already been selling. In fact, it's the same propeller as the Turbo Timber. The motor is one that we've used in our other models. The electronics inside, the servos, they are new. So again, we've talked about, we're updating and upgrading our electronics. Of course, the flight controller, which has the receiver and the ESC in it, is programmed for this model. So that's all new. Most of those parts, I know a lot of stores don't stock those parts. They don't even typically stock the foam parts. They usually special order these for people, but they are available. They will be different than the Turbo Timber. We will continue selling the parts for this Turbo Timber for many years to come. We are not getting rid of these parts because, again, not all of them are interchangeable. Most of them are not. So we'll continue stocking the parts for this model because there are a lot of these out there. There's many, 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 many of these out in the market. And we want to continue supporting those for as long as we can, which actually brings me to a point that I see. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you discontinue an airplane, discontinue the parts. We don't usually. If we discontinue an airplane like that, we typically sell the parts for a year or two, or as many years as we can keep getting them from the factory. We keep bringing in those parts. What happens though sometimes is if we stop selling an airplane and the factory can't make the airplane, they also can't make the parts. It's not practical, it's not efficient to make 5 foam wings or 50 foam wings. They need to make 500 airplanes and then an extra 50 wings. So that's why we can't always make spare parts for discontinued airplanes forever and ever. Good news is that tooling is not getting changed to this tooling. This is all new tooling, so we can continue making that. The factory that makes this made that. They're gonna continue supporting it with parts. So that's an important note to make for the customers that might be concerned about parts availability. You know, that said, I think a lot of people are just going to buy this airplane, and you know, for good reason. It's a fantastic airplane in a lot of ways. Really excited. Yeah, I hope we can see that finish there. Oh, it's just a really, really sharp looking aircraft. Very excited about that. All right, so before we sign off, are there any other questions or concerns about anything we've covered? And again, big shout out to Mr. Tom Cogswell for setting up these additional camera shots for us to get everything set up with the lights and the sound, and you know, being able to stream live from our nice studio that we missed for a long time during the pandemic, unfortunately. Mike Mann's loving the camera shots. How about this? Check us out. I can go black screen whenever I want for dramatic effect. But thanks again, Tom. So we're hoping that in the future we can do more of these live streams right after our sales training session with our staff, and then come back here and then cover this for our dealers that are able to join us live. And then, of course, this video will live in live. The live version will be still on Facebook for dealers that might see this, you know, an hour from now or tomorrow for all that information. And we may also download this and upload it elsewhere so we can also, you know, share it with other people as well. There's a lot of good information in there. Yes, thank you, Tom. Ah, Tom is on. Great, awesome. Oh, real quick note then on availability. So these are going to be shipping about a week from now. So right around March 29th, 2023, these are going to start going out in the US. Obviously, they'll be available in Europe not long after that. And this does replace the old one. We've been out of the old one for a while. So I know a lot of stores were probably sold out of the old one. You may still have some of the old Turbo Timbers in stock. Again, it's $10 less expensive. Some people may prefer the looks and the lighter weight of that, and they may want to back up for one they already have, so they may buy that. Don't fret. You're probably not going to get stuck with old Turbo Timbers. And then a lot of stores, again, have sold out of them, so you're going to have pent-up demand for this. Now, we do have only a limited supply coming in initially, so make sure you get your orders in fast. Get a lot of them in stock and on order. It's spring now, officially, although here in Illinois it doesn't necessarily look or feel like spring just yet. We're waiting very patiently very anxiously for that. But this is a great model to just, steal a quick flight for in your front yard, so you don't have to have, spring-like weather. Even if it's a little chilly, you can just run outside, make a quick flight, get back inside. That's the nice thing about Ultra Micros. But of course, we're getting ready to go into flying season, and this is going to be one of the hottest airplanes this flying season, probably one of the hottest airplanes that we have ever had, hands down, for all the reasons that we've already talked about. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this in the lineup. And I think this, much like Real Flight Evolution, now you got the Turbo Timber Evolution, both of these are evolved versions of best-selling products. Both of them, however, and in also the Turbo Timber Evolution 1.5 meter, the bigger brother, they're so refined, they're so good now, we don't anticipate replacing these anytime soon. We expect these to be in the portfolio, as we call it, or in our lineup for many years to come without being able to really update and upgrade a whole lot, because this has pretty much all the things people want. Also didn't mention, it has telemetry. You've got the battery voltage telemetry. So even with a DXS, you've got the little lights on there that'll indicate the approximate battery voltage. Of course, most people will be flying this with their, DX6E, their NX6, their NX8, their IX14, their IX20, and this has then the additional battery voltage telemetry, motor RPM, things like that. So good telemetry, nice, cool stuff. It's the most advanced, the most evolved of all the Turbo Timber or Ultra Micro Timbers yet. And that kind of makes it the best all around for a even wider audience of people. So really excited about that. Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Thank you to everybody for joining us. We're going to sign off now, but be sure to check out the video that I'll link in the comment section down there below or in the description below, depending on where you're seeing this or when you're seeing it. Do not share that video before tomorrow, please. But we want you guys to have that first look at the very wide flight envelope of this, the incredible versatile nature of it, the fact that you can fly it in a tightly wooded area, you can fly it in a bigger park, you can fly it indoors, you can fly it on the floats. This thing is just like all around great in so many ways. So thank you for joining us.